Second stage at the digital collection day is the interview stage. And once visitors have completed the forms at the welcome desk, they are escorted over to the interview area by a volunteer. Now, the interview area is where volunteers talk to visitors about their story and/or their objects and record the information on a story form and an objects list. Now, the interview stage takes the form of an informal interview. We recommend that a standard interview should take around 20 to 30 minutes, but if you're not very busy, of course, it can last longer. We also recommend that one volunteer takes notes while another asks the questions. There are 3 essential tasks for volunteers to complete at the interview stage. Firstly, they need to complete the story form. Now, you need to fill out all sections of the story form if you are a volunteer on the interview desk. On the story form, you write down the visitor's story, you jot down the name of the person or the people the story is about, you jot down their connection to the contributor, you jot down your name, and there's also a box marked longer interview, which we will talk about shortly. Now, the interview may be your only opportunity to collect information about the story and/or the objects, so you need to extract as much information as possible from the visitor. If you get stuck for questions, or if the visitor isn't very open and isn't sharing as much information as you think they can, there are some things that you can think about as prompts. So if you think about who, when, what, and where, and keep that in mind, it should help. So for example, you could say, who is the story about? And what is your relationship to this person? Do you know anything about what happened to them during the war, or maybe even after the war? Did this person ever talk about the war? And what have others said about this person? The same goes for when. You could ask, when did the events take place? When did the person join? Was it before the war? Was it at the beginning of the war? Were they conscripted? When were they discharged? When were they born? When did they die? When was this photograph taken? The same applies to what. What is this object? What do you know about the object? How do you get it? Who had it before you? Where do you keep it? And then finally, where. Where is the object from? Did the person recover it from a battlefield? Where was the person born? Where did they serve? Now remember that this is an opportunity for the visitor to share something that may be personal and important to them. So please be sensitive when conducting the interview, and be careful when you're handling their objects. It's good practice to ask if you can pick up one of their objects, rather than just lunging over the table and picking it up. Now, if possible, we do encourage you to audio record the interview. We are aware that not every collection day will be able to facilitate audio recordings, possibly due to lack of equipment. It is not essential, therefore, that audio recording takes place, but it is recommended wherever possible. An audio recording can be used to supplement your note-taking, allowing the scribe to check back on notes after the event, or simply useful for the project team to create a transcript of the audio to append to the contribution when it's published in our online archive. Now, you can only record the interview if the contributor has agreed to this and has ticked the relevant box on the consent and permissions form. So if you are audio recording, make sure you check this form before audio recording. If you do intend to use audio recorders, you can read our audio recording guide on our website on the toolkit page. A summary of the guidance follows. So at the beginning of each recording, state the name of the interviewer, state the name of the interviewee, and also state the name of the location and also the date of the event. And we strongly recommend that you capture straight to digital format, i.e. don't use old dictaphones with tapes. You can use smartphones or laptops that have audio recording capabilities. You can obviously also use small portable digital voice recorders if you have access to them. Remember to position the recorder near the interviewee. Make sure that you are near or connected to the mains or have sufficient battery power. Make sure there's sufficient space on the memory card. And we do recommend that you do a short trial before the interview. Now, once you've gathered all the information you can about the person's story and you have audio recorded, if you so wish, we do ask you to ask the visitors further questions. Now, there is a separate document called Further Questions on the back of the story form if you are lucky enough to have a double-sided printer. Now, if they agree, you ask them the 5 questions and just record their answers on this form. They're very short questions. We don't expect long answers, so do keep this succinct. You now need to record the objects and complete the objects list form. Now, most visitors will bring along an object or several objects. It's vitally important that we give each object or group of similar objects a unique number. This makes it easier for us to keep track of the object through the rest of the collection day and even after. It makes it easier for us to know which object relates to which story and which person. This is particularly important when it comes to digitizing objects and uploading the stories in stages 3 and 4. It's also important for when visitors come to collect their objects at the end of the collection event. Now, one of the most successful ways that we've managed this process is by using good old-fashioned raffle tickets. So, when we're interviewing the visitor, one of the volunteers will give each object or each group of similar objects a raffle ticket. We keep one half of the raffle ticket with the object or group of objects, and you give the other half of the raffle ticket to the visitor. You then record the object and the number on the object list. So just to reiterate, you don't necessarily have to give each individual object a number. You can group certain objects together. You might want to group together 3 buttons and 10 postcards, rather than having 3 separate raffle tickets for the buttons, 10 separate raffle tickets for the postcards, and so on. Now, when you get your hands on the object list, you'll find that it's all fairly self-explanatory. Most of the details on the object list form can be taken from the visitor's consent and permissions form, things like their ID number, their name, and so on. All you have to add is the raffle ticket numbers and the object description. Now, when you feel like you've extracted as much information as you can from the visitor, and once you've completed all the details on the forms that I've just discussed, the interview process is complete. It's then necessary to place all of the forms, all of the objects, and all of the raffle tickets in a container of some kind. Now, at previous collection days, volunteers have made use of plastic wallets, the lids of cardboard boxes, plastic trays, that kind of thing. Anything you can get your hand on that would enable you to consolidate this information and these objects and materials and keep them separate from one another. Now, these objects, forms, and so on are now ready to be digitized, which we'll cover in the next video. Before we end this short session, I just have to mention longer interviews. Now, if you identify a potentially rich interview that could last for over an hour, please ask the visitor if they'd be happy to discuss their story or objects further. If they agree, you can just check the longer interview box on the story form and conduct a longer free-form interview on the same day at a separate desk or after the event at an agreed time. Now, we do encourage you to record all longer interviews for us, but there are no specific forms that you need to fill in or anything like that. Just please record it and please upload it if possible. As I said, there is some guidance on audio recording on our website on the toolkit page, but there's also a guide on conducting longer interviews, which you may find useful. Now, what kind of volunteers will you need on the interview desks? Well, it's fairly obvious, I suppose. You'd need someone who's a good conversationalist, someone that's good at extracting information, but you also want someone who's a good, speedy note taker. Before moving on to the next stage and the next video, I should mention that at some collection days, organisers invite subject experts along to work on the interview desks. Now, sometimes visitors do come along and they don't actually know a great deal about the objects that they brought. And subject experts can help to tell them about those objects. Not only is this beneficial for visitors because they go away learning some more information about the objects that they have, it's also beneficial for us. It means that the stories that are uploaded tend to be more detailed and potentially more accurate. Now, this isn't mandatory, of course, but it's a suggestion, and it might be worth getting in touch with local history societies, family history societies, local schools, local universities to find some people that would be happy to come along and volunteer at your event and help out and share that information that they have.